morning, everyone. When you look on page 12 of your siddur, in the HaScroll siddur, you'll see it says when you enter into the shul, you should say the following prayer. And that's the prayer of Ma Tovu Alech Yaakov, how goodly are your tents, Jacob, your dwelling place is Israel. So 365 days a year, when you walk into the shul, the first thing you're supposed to say is Ma Tovu Alech Yaakov Mishkanotecha Yisrael, which is the words that Bilam speaks in this week's parsha. And the question is, if we're going to enter into the shul every day of the year and say select words, wouldn't it be more preferable to speak words that quote King David in the book of Psalms, where he says, I have one request, to sit in the house of Hashem, or some words of Moshe Rabbeinu? Why would we quote a Gentile prophet who attempted to destroy the Jewish people? One of the answers is very important, and that is that as Jews we come to shul and we start our day with prayer every day. And by quoting Bilam, we're reminding ourselves of a very important lesson that we have to carry with us all day long. You see, Bilam is not just the person who lived thousands of years ago. Unfortunately, there are many Bilams in 2018. There are many enemies of the Jewish people who, just like Bilam, are still seeking to destroy the Jewish people. They're still speaking to plot and scheme and devise plans how to annihilate, God forbid, the Jewish people. They're the protogeners, they're the progenitors, they're the descendants of the spiritual Bilam who are still seeking the demise and the destruction of the Jewish people. But what happened to Bilam in this week's parsha? He tried as hard as he can to destroy the Jewish people. But every time he opened his mouth, what came out? Praises. Because as hard as he wanted to attempt to harm the Jewish people, when he saw the reality, he was compelled to speak the truth. And the truth was, how goodly are the tents, O Jacob, how wonderful is this nation. And that's the greatest lesson we can learn. And that is that the greatest victory of the Jewish people is when our enemies are forced to admit and pronounce our praise. When we do things in such an exemplary way that even those who want to detract from us have no choice but to admit that the Jewish people are a great nation. We all feel that way about Israel, that even the most adamant enemies of Israel, the Arabs, whoever they may be, when they look at the realities of Israel, the successes, the generosity, the missions that Israel does in Haiti, all over the world, no matter how much they want to destroy Israel, they have to admit, if they're somewhat honest with themselves, that this nation is an extraordinary nation. And when we could force our enemies to admit that, that's the greatest victory. As the Talmud says, who's a strong person? One who can turn an enemy into a friend. And the lesson is also on a personal level. When we go out as a Jew in the world, every day you encounter people who in their heart they want to curse you. But they're Jew. You know, they're looking to say something negative. They're looking to put you down in some way. They're looking to find some flaw that they could accentuate and harp on. But we should give them no such opportunity. We should force them, after encountering us and experiencing our relationships, to say, you know what? This Jew, I have to admit, he's honest, he's kind, he's caring. And that's what the daily quote of Bilam reminds us. The minute you step out of shul, there are people ready to shoot arrows at you just because you're a Jew. Anti-Semitism. But your job is to give them no such opportunity. Don't give them the opportunity to say something bad about you. On the contrary, make them admit that the Jews are an extraordinary people. Let them see your Torah values. Let them see your decency, your kindness, your compassion, your generosity, your fairness, your truthfulness, your integrity, and let them be compelled, as hard as they try to curse you, to say nothing but blessings about you. Story told about this, a true story happened here in Delray Beach. It was written up that there was a guy, his name was Arthur Rosenberg, a Jewish guy. He went to get a coffee in Dunkin' Donuts. And it was one of these drive-thrus. You put in your order, you come around, you get your coffee. He comes around and he has to pay the girl at the window for his order, for whatever he ordered there, his coffees. And his wallet fell between his seat and he couldn't find it. And behind him there was a guy in an SUV and he was getting impatient, the morning rush. So he starts honking on his horn. Beep, beep. Anyways, it takes him a few minutes to find it. Finally he gets his credit card. This guy's honking away. He gives it to the girl behind the counter. With the little headpiece there, taking the orders. And she says, she's about to swipe his card, and he says, put the guy behind me, put his bill on my card. I want to pay for him. She says, what? That guy who's been hunking away at you? He says, yeah, he must be having a bad day. Maybe I could cheer him up, do something nice for him. So she says, okay, whatever you want. She looks in the computer. She says, oh, by the way, he ordered breakfast for 5. It's like $28. He says, no problem, just put it on my card. She says, whatever you want. She swipes the card. He drives out of the parking lot, and this guy pulls up, and he starts going off to the girl. That guy, wasting everyone's time. What's the matter with this guy? He starts calling him every name in the book. She's listening. Finally, she hands him his 5 breakfasts. He gives her the credit card, and she says, no charge. He says, no charge? What do you mean no charge? She says, the guy in front of you, he decided to pay for you. He said, what? He paid for me? He said, yeah. He said, you must be having a bad day. He figured maybe he'll cheer you up, make you smile. He couldn't believe it. So he's standing there with the credit card. He says, you know what? I'll pay for the guy behind me. And he paid for the guy behind him. And then the next car came, and he said, no charge. The guy in front of you paid. He said, oh, really? I'll pay for the guy behind me. But this guy was full of anger and rage and animosity towards this guy, and suddenly he had no choice but to say, you know what? He's not what I thought he was. He's a nice guy. And that's what Bilam words remind us, to turn all the curses that are hurled against us into blessings.